Good morning or good afternoon whenever you're watching this. This is your boy the DOUG here for a video game review and a little bit of history towards one of my favorite games, Primal Rage. There's the disc. Picked it up at MagFest, one of the many games. Just to give it a bit of history, a little bit before I give you my review. Excuse me. Primal Rage is a versing fighting game developed and published by Atari Games in 1994 as an arcade video game. There was also toys, comics, and a novel released, but we'll get to that later in the video. First, let's talk about the game, shall we? In Primal Rage, the storyline is a meteor has devastated the Earth, technology has ceased to exist, and civilization has been utterly reduced to rubble. Pretty much, long story short, think of Oakland, California. Out of this, several creatures emerge who wage war for control of the new world. Yeah, long story short, just think of Mortal Kombat meets Disney's dinosaurs. You actually get the kill, not the mama, because he's annoying. Now, gameplay, like I said, Mortal Kombat, but there were a few Easter eggs. If you did a two-player match, two humans, there would be an Easter egg of a human volleyball game, which was actually kind of fun. I got to do that myself while playing this. Now, unlike most fighting games, though, originally they were three special moves were performed by moving the joystick followed by pressing one or more buttons. Primal Rage features a system where the player holds certain buttons, then performs the joystick movements. Later versions of the arcade game go back to the true classic way. Believe me, they should have never changed that, because that was one of the bad parts about the game. Now, there were pretty much 4 good guys and 3 villains. The good guys were Spike, as he's known in the photo version, Armadillo. He's pretty much, Armadillo. He's he kind of resembles an armadillo. I mean, he's a dinosaur with spikes, pretty much. Think Kano with spikes, okay? That's pretty much all you need to think of. Blizzard, who was known as Kong in the proto version, is the god of good. By the way, the armadillo is the god of life. Yeah, I know it's probably not his name, but hey, deal with it. Blizzard is the god of good, and Virtual, pretty much he's Sub-Zero, long story short. Sonon, the god of hunger, is the T-Rex, the good one, and Talon, the god of survival. Yeah, I can never figure out what the fuck he was, so I apologize for that. So first, for the 3 bad guys, you had Chaos, the god of decay, who was Scorpion, pretty much. Diablo, the god of evil and destruction, evil T-Rex. And Vertigo, who looks like a combination of a dinosaur who had sex with a king cobra. Now, interesting things about this game, it is a great game. It does play very well. The controls are a little bit of a pain, but and graphically it holds up okay. The storylines, it is what it is, nothing too fancy. But would I recommend it for buying? Well, I'll give my rating at the end of the video like I always do. But let's get to the history of Primal Rage, because it's got a very rich history. But before I do that, I'm just going to say it. Find the cheat codes for this game. They would be very useful, because the fatalities are a pain in the ass to do without. Now, its history is very weird, but let's start with the one that is good history. It's originally printed in an issue of GamePro in 1995. God, that's a long time ago. There's evidence to suggest that each character is a tongue-in-cheek with reference to a fighter from the original Mortal Kombat. No shit. The individual traits, personalities, special moves of each character resemble those of a counterpart in the Mortal Kombat lineup. Blizzard is pretty much like Sub-Zero. Diablo, hey, he's Scorpion. He pretty much, one of his fatalities, he burns the other dinosaur until there's nothing left but a skeleton. Burning skin, I should say. One dinosaur has shadow kicks. Chaos is somebody can do Kano's ball thing. Pretty much, yeah, they were ripping off Mortal Kombat. Also, the concept of 2 fighters sharing the same identical appearances, in this case, the 2 T-Rex and the 2 apes, resemble that of Scorpion and Sub-Zero in Mortal Kombat. Ironically enough, a similar technique was applied to Ken and Ryu of Street Fighter 2. Go figure. Lastly, the game was tributed in the Game Over episode of Dexter's Laboratory. Who would have thought I'd be mentioning that? In which Dee Dee and Dexter play a Primal Rage parody Primal Fighter. Now there is some controversy with this game as well. And, oh, it's a goodie. As with other bloody US-based fighting titles at the time, most notably Mortal Kombat, Primal Rage was sparked considerable controversy due to its violence level, gory fatalities, and the live eating of humans. Again, it's Oakland, California, and if anybody lives in Oakland, I somewhat apologize. Although it was a bloody game, Primal Rage was titled T for teen at the time, yet that did not stop its critics from jumping and raging piss about it, together with the mature rating of Mortal Kombat. To please the critics, the game was withdrawn, reprogrammed, and re-released several fucking times. This is what I say. Don't listen to the critics. If people are playing it, let it be, people. Now, later arcade versions of Primal Rage included a goer, no goer. Boo! Pretty much you could turn the go off. Boo! I mean, shit, that's why we play bloody games. Fighting games. We want to see the gore. We want to see somebody's head ripped off, if I remember correctly. And you could also disable the use of fatalities and the eating of humans in all the game's blood. Now, unfortunately, home console ports of Primal Rage also did this, but they also retained all the game's original content as well, which was more than enough to continue the controversy surrounding the game. According to Victor Primal Rage, section 7.4, the June 96 issue of Game Pro confirms that a Jane Doe, I'm not going to say her name, from Arizona, became enraged when her 11-year-old son bought and played a Genesis version of the game using Game Pro Strategies Guide to execute Chaos's Golden Shower / Urination fatality. I'm sorry, I've seen that fatality. I think it's fucking funny. I thought it was funny then, I think it's funny now. The mom was so outraged, she not only returned the game, but also launched a grassroots campaign. Ironically, the Super Nintendo version, which the particular fatality was removed entirely, displayed a no cheese symbol, a sign that was generally used to notify the player that he or she had performed an illegal combo at the top of the screen if it was attempted. It was also pulled from the shelves. To this Jane Doe from Arizona, I just got one thing to say. Fuck you. Okay? I'm sorry, I played this game as a kid. I didn't have a problem with it. Granted, I knew better. That's the problem. Kids don't know better. At least not most of us. Now, it does have a good legacy. The 2.3 version introduced new moves, combos by moving the joystick while pressing one of the buttons, and the fatalities into existence as well as the intro. This made Primal Rage, excuse me for that, I had to itch. It made Primal Rage the first arcade game ever to upgrade and add brand new content to its existing ROM many months after its release. This contrasts games such as Mortal Kombat 3, when different versions were released as the game, was continuously improved to fix many glitches and errors. MK3 would follow this trend with Ultimate MK3. Primal Rage was also one of the first games in which players could trigger mini-games in the middle of a match, such as the volleyball game, as I mentioned, and I believe there was a bowling one. And you didn't have to use extra credits or modes. A board game marketed towards kids was released called Primal Rage on Earth. It was distributed by a toy company, Playmates. If anyone has seen this, or has video or picture of it, please send it to me, because I would love to see it, personally, because I never seen the board game. And Primal Rage was also the first fighting game to show damage percent after a combo was done. MK3 later incorporated this. Now, there were many ports to this game. You had, of course, this. You also had the Sega Saturn, 3DO, Atari Jaguar CD, Super Nintendo, the PC, Mega Drive, Sega 32X, Game Boy. Game Gear, pretty much anything that was out at that freaking time. Now, since I had the PS3 version, since I'm at the port sec, talking about the ports, that does have long load times, a nice 3D intro, unfortunately fewer frames of animation for each character than the arcade version. Combo names are displayed like the arcade version though. Now let's get to what is left of this legacy. Primal Rage 2. Yes, believe it or not, there was supposed to be a part 2. By 95, Atari had begun production of Primal Rage's sequel, simply entitled Primal Rage 2. The game, however, was never released, even although a test arcade cabinet briefly appeared playable at a Golfland arcade in Sunnyvale, California. A dragon-like boss, which was rumored by the video game magazine GamePro to implicate a future release of the original Primal Rage, was the main antagonist. Although the game never came to be, the story was later adapted into the novel called Primal Rage: The Avatars, which we will get to. The game was to feature new characters that took the form of humans and were called the Avatars. Other prehistoric fighters which took the form of Solomon, named Fang, originally called Sabretooth, has been around as long as the other gods have, but he never fought for any land. Was also planned to appear in the game as well. A monster known as, pretty much a dragon who's a fucking skeleton, which originally planned for the original game was promised to appear. The original characters were going to remain as well. The plot centered around the Earth, around years after the gods have fought again. It turns out that the meteor that crashed on Earth was actually an egg and hatches a being known as the fucking living dragon skeleton. Think Skeletor times a fucking dragon, okay? It's hard to explain what he is, because I've never seen a picture of it. The gods fight it, but their efforts become useless. The dragon imprisons them in a state of semi-suspended animation, forms minions of his own, and starts to wreak havoc on Earth. The gods then choose human avatars for themselves to take on a human form. The avatars fight the minions of the dragon, release the gods from their prison, and battle him again. The warriors would be... yeah, I don't really care who the freaking avatars were, okay? I don't think anyone does. Everything was centered, a lot of things were centered around the game. There was a lot of hype. Unfortunately, it wasn't the same for the production. The game didn't get very far in production, and Avatar felt that the game wouldn't generate enough sales. They later announced the cancellation, although not many people knew about it. So, yeah, that's the thing. I think a lot of people wanted to see it, but only if they played the first one. I mean, after that, Primal Rage's popularity died down. A supposed finished machine of this was shown at the California Extreme 2001 show. The machine had the original board and most of the original art. In recent years, screenshots have been released on the internet, and what was finished for the game and what was made for the game has also been passed around. Also, the characters of the Sabretooth and the Dragon were released with the other god characters in the short-lived Primal Rage action figure series. Now, as far as for the Primal Rage: The Avatars, that pretty much became a novel in 1997, and was wondering why I don't give a shit. The book's plot pretty much tells you what was going to be about the game, long story short. Not a lot of copies were sold to my knowledge. I never even knew there was a book until doing my research for this game. So if anyone has the book, let me know, and let me know what you thought of it, alright? There was also a comic book series for this from 96 to 98. Good luck trying to find that if you're a collector, and there were, of course, toys for this, but again, those you would have to find. That's pretty much the history of Primal Rage, pretty much a long-forgotten fighting game that was actually pretty good. So if you want a real take on Mortal Kombat with dinosaurs, definitely would pick up Primal Rage if you can find it. I got it pretty cheap. I only paid about, I think, $2 for it, because the guy was being very generous with it. He didn't really care how much he sold it for. Some of the games I bought from him. I give it a 4 out of 5. It's a very great game, even with all its flaws. It's very good. Definitely would recommend picking it up if you can find it. That's my review of in history of Primal Rage, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you played Primal Rage and you remember it as a kid. Till next time, and I see you guys next week for more video game reviews or anything else. This is the boy, the DOUG, signing out saying good night, and have a great Sunday. Woo!